Hello, I'm Dan Favre, the campaign organizer with the Gulf Restoration Network. Thanks to everyone for coming out tonight to learn more about and support a healthy Gulf of Mexico. The GRN is an environmental advocacy organization that is exclusively focused on the health of the Gulf of Mexico for future generations. We've been around for about 16 years. Along with the incredible and unique cultures we have here in the Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico and its coast is are amazing natural treasures. From the Everglades to the Atchafalaya Basin here in Louisiana, we have some of the most biodiverse and life-filled wetlands in the entire country that provide habitat for wildlife and also protect us from hurricanes and flooding. Over 50% of the country's waterways drain eventually into the Gulf of Mexico, meaning there's tons of rivers and streams and lakes which provide endless recreational opportunities like boating or kayaking through a cypress forest. I grew up in the desert, so the first time I got to boat through a forest was incredibly mind-blowing. We also have an amazing array of marine wildlife, from the bluefin tuna, which are the size of a cow but move as fast as a cheetah, to the redfish and other species that we like to fish and eat, to the endangered sperm whale that can dive literally a mile below the surface of the water to forage for food. It's really spectacular out there in the Gulf. Unfortunately, the Gulf is really dying the death of 1,000 cuts. From a sewage treatment plant that's not properly treating sewage before it goes into a stream, to the fact that cypress forests are being clear-cut solely to produce garden mulch. There's a myriad of threats. And the Gulf Restoration Network works to respond to the most dire threats using all the tools that we have in our toolbox. Louisiana loses about a football field worth of wetlands every 45 minutes due to erosion caused by leveeing the Mississippi to create flood protection and shipping, and also by carving up the wetlands for oil and gas that has fueled the country. And GRN works to pressure state and federal governments as well as oil and gas companies to prioritize coastal restoration and pay their fair share. Of course, right now, like most of us, our attention is focused on responding to BP's oil drilling disaster. Tens of millions of gallons of oil in the Gulf of Mexico, and it continues to grow daily. And the impacts and outcomes from this disaster will likely take decades to even realize and to mitigate. As soon as the oil started flowing from BP's broken equipment on the seafloor, the marine wildlife of the Gulf was being impacted. From the bluefin tuna I talked about that are spawning now, to endangered sea turtles and sperm whales that crisscross the area of the slick, and these amazing deep water corals that we have in the Gulf, super deep underwater, that are now being threatened by these underwater oil plumes. GRN immediately started responding by monitoring the situation and its impacts to provide an independent voice that could ground truth the claims being made by BP and the federal government. BP hasn't been able to stop the flow of oil, but they have been withholding information, and the fight for transparency will be ongoing. Our coastal communities are also reeling. Huge portions of state and federal fishing grounds have been closed, and these communities that were just on the verge of recovering from Katrina are now faced again with devastation. Fishing and shrimping and oystering friends of ours like Mike Lane and Danny Phillips have effectively seen their incomes drop to zero, and the future is very uncertain out there. 1,131 birds, 331 turtles, and 38 mammals and dolphins have been collected from the oil danger zone. Some have been oiled, some have been dead, some are alive, some are just exhausted from escaping, and they're all very pissed. Good. The GRN is fighting for a brighter Gulf future by working to make sure the nation cleans up BP's oil drilling disaster and holds BP accountable. We need to make sure our coastal communities are made whole once again and pass policy and regulations that will ensure this never happens again. Unfortunately, BP is really in control of the cleanup and response right now, and they've proven to be more concerned with their public image than actually mobilizing resources. I actually had a chance to fly over the coast and the source of the oil drilling disaster yesterday, and aside from the overwhelming amount of oil that you see literally off to the horizon in every direction when you're flying out over it, the lack of resources on the ground is mind-blowing. And so we're calling on the federal government to take over the cleanup response. BP and the oil industry can focus on stopping that gushing geyser of oil, but the federal government needs to mobilize resources and, institute better leadership like General Honore in the aftermath of Katrina, and then send BP the bill because they're financially accountable. And we can start by hiring more of our coastal community members to get out there and help clean up the areas that they know best. But they need to be able to do it safely with the equipment that can keep them healthy. And in the long term, they need the support and the resources to effectively fight for their future. And finally, we really need policy shifts. We need better enforcement of federal regulation of the oil industry to make sure that we can prevent these disasters in the future and that there's a plan B for when accidents do happen. And over the long term, we've got to move away from an oil economy and invest in clean and renewable technologies that allow us to fuel our economy and get our energy from safe sources. And so GRN pursues these goals and with a variety of strategies, including corporate accountability and government accountability through litigation and pushing for better policy. For instance, we're really working hard to make sure that the cozy relationship between oil companies and the federal agency that's designed to regulate them and enforce safety and environmental standards ends. And we do that, really the most important factor in fighting for a healthy Gulf and defending our communities and having a clean future is public awareness and action. So we've got all sorts of media stuff that we've made on our own on our website, appearing in the media, and getting to hang out with famous people every once in a while. We also really work to inspire people and provide opportunities for action, whether that be simply signing a petition somewhere online or in person, coming out to an event, signing up as a Gulf Sustainer, which is one of our monthly donors, or working with us this summer, going door to door to raise awareness and funds. You can help. In fact, we really need your help. So please visit www.bpdrillingdisaster.org to stay informed, take action, and donate to these efforts. It's a website we set up just for this cause. And I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. You've already helped out just by being here. If you have any more questions or you want to donate, you can see me afterwards. Because despite the challenges that we're facing, working together, we really can still have a clean and whole and safe Gulf of Mexico for future generations. So thank you very much.